Hi, today I want to talk to you about service after the sale. Now, we've all heard that expression, I didn't make that up. Depending on what industry you're in, it means different things. In the real estate agent industry, it might mean something like after you close on a house, leave a nice basket of cookies or pastries or muffins for the family to see when they first enter their home with a nice card that says, welcome to your new home, wishing you a lifetime of happiness. And if you need anything else, it's been a pleasure working with you. And if you need anything else, feel free to reach out to me for any of your other future needs, or if you know anyone else who's buying or selling a home, I'd appreciate if you thought of me. That's one way of going. But we have to remember with what we at Opportunities Everywhere are endorsing is something different. We're endorsing the idea that you are going to be presenting to your potential clients the idea of buying a rental property. It wasn't their idea. So service after the sale is going to look much different. What I have in mind is that will make things anything that will make things easier for your client and easier for you in the future is something that I would consider service after the sale. So what I envision it looking like is like this. If you have a client who's been buying into the whole process all along, and he's agreeable to the idea of investing in real estate with you, and you're showing him properties, he's going to become aware of the fact that not all the properties are going to be perfect, and some work is going to have to be done on them in order to make them rent ready. So as you can see him narrowing his choices down to, three or two or one, and that he's ultimately probably going to put in an offer on one of them, you can start anticipating what you're going to need in advance of the close. So service after the sale actually begins before the sale is consummated, but you have the sale in mind to act on in advance, so that way after the sale you can continue it. So what I mean by that is if you see the different problems with a certain property that he's going to have to take care of, what you may want to do, and what makes a lot of sense to do, is have a leasing agent or a property manager who he's probably going to use, or a contractor who your client is likely to use, one that you like and one that you trust. Have them walk the property so that the two or three of those people can get together and put together a punch list of what needs to be done to that property to make it rent ready. And it's going to give the buyer a good idea of what the budget's going to cost in order to get that done. So as he's getting closer and closer to actually making an offer and setting a date, you're going to get a good idea as to when the closing date is going to be, and you can start notifying that contractor. Perhaps it's going to be on Wednesday the 28th. So see if that contractor can get in on Thursday the 29th to start doing the work, because it's very important as part of this service after the sale that everything that goes on after the closing runs smoothly. The main goal here is that everything runs well so that he wants to buy a second house from you. That's the goal here. So whatever you have to do before the sale and after the sale in furtherance of that is what you want to accomplish. So if you know he's going to have to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 doing certain rehab work, line that contractor up in advance of the closing. Let him know when the closing is going to be. If the leasing agent's going to need to do a walkthrough after the work is done, make sure that that's arranged. So you don't want to actually just say, congratulations on your new house, Mr. Buyer, see ya, and I'll call you in 3 months and see if you want to buy another one. That's exactly the wrong approach. What you want to do is you want to be the quarterback of the whole process, because remember, this is a person who believes in what you were saying, intelligently, intellectually, but they don't believe it in their gut until they actually see it work for them. They don't believe it until they start making money. They know, again, intellectually, that other people have made a ton of money in real estate, but they always think it's for other people, not for themselves, until they actually start seeing it work for themselves. So while they like you and they trust you over the months, they don't quite believe you until they see it work for them. And that's your biggest hurdle. That's the biggest obstacle that you're going to have to overcome. So if I were in your position, what I would do is I would be, from the date of closing, I would start making calls to the people who you need in your network to make sure that this transaction runs smoothly, and then follow up with the client every single week. Whether you have good news or whether you have bad news, they're going to appreciate the fact that you're following up with them and making sure that this is going to end up successfully for them. They may have this, if you do the job really well, they're going to have this view that this is a passive investment for them, and that's what you want. You want for them to think of it as nothing more than a mutual fund. Because if they think of it as nothing more than a mutual fund, something that they don't have to think of ever again, and they just see rent checks coming in every month, there's no reason why they would ever say no to you the next time you offer them to buy another house. It's like saying, "Sir, I've made you a little bit wealthy. Do you mind if I make you more wealthy?" Who's going to say no to that? Of course they're not. So I think that's the main thing, is that take control of the whole transaction. Do not trust that the people that are in your network are going to do everything according to the way that you would want them to. So keep in touch with them, and also inform, give feedback to your client. Like I said, even if it's good news, whether it's good news or whether it's bad news, let's say your contractor can't get to them the next day after the closing, but can't get to them for another week or two. At least be the one to tell your client that that's what's happening, so that way they're not left in the dark. The last thing you want to have happen is for you to wait 3 months and call back and see how the experience is going and find out it's been going badly when you could have helped. And then what that is it creates that bigger and bigger obstacle for you to have to overcome in order to sell them a second house. So take the bull by the horns from the outset. Give them service after the sale immediately, and don't stop until they say yes to your second transaction, and do that again and do it again and do it again. The more involved you are, and the more seamless the whole transaction is for them, the more likely it is they're going to say yes to you the next time, because you're giving them exactly what you promised you would deliver. Is they're actually seeing it come to fruition. So while it was just a hypothesis before in their minds, they're actually seeing it come to reality, and they now believe you with their full heart, not just intellectually. So without service after the sale, you can really blow it. Service after the sale is the most important thing that you can do. Without it, again, like I said, you can really turn a good thing into a bad thing and sabotage your own success. If you find the right person who has a lot of money and who now believes you and trusts you and views you as a mentor and a person who didn't abandon them during bad times, you could make your whole career work a lot better just by having that one wealthy client. I've had years where, in my field, where I worked as a financial planner, where I've had one client make or break my year, and the same thing could be true for you. You want to be the person that's there for them during bad times, not just good times. People really respect that, and they remember that. I mean, think of it in your own life. If you have had the misfortune of, God forbid, maybe having a parent pass away, don't you remember the people who came to the funeral? Do you remember the people who visited them in the hospital when you didn't even know that they did that? Those are the people that you trust. Those are the people that you can really count on, and you want to be one of those people to your client. That you want to be the person who does things for them that they've never seen a real estate agent do for them before. So that's all for today. I'll talk to you soon. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.